With the release of It Chapter 2 this weekend, that means it's time to dive in and rank all the It movies. Whether it's a miniseries or these two movies that we have now, we're going to be diving in and ranking all of them together. Now here's the thing, I've quite enjoyed almost all of them for different purposes and one another. But the thing is that this is going to be a fun video for me to kind of dive in and talk about each film just a little bit, just again, and give you guys my ranking. Of course, guys, comment down below and let me know what your ranking is. And of course, if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe button. And let me know as well, who do you guys like more, Bill Skarsgård or Tim Curry as Pennywise? Let's discuss it down there. But without further ado, let's get started. Coming in number 3 is obviously gonna have to be It, the miniseries. I didn't grow up with this. I actually saw it for the first time just a couple of years ago before the first one was coming out. And I said, I need to dive in and watch this because when I was younger, not gonna lie, clowns used to scare the shit out of me. Sometimes they still do. And when I dived in to go see this miniseries again, I could definitely tell that it was very dated from its time. While Tim Curry is fantastic as Pennywise, I mean superb, fantastic, any amount of the words you want to say, Tim Curry is great as this type of Pennywise, and I love what he brings to the role. The thing that overall comes to this miniseries, though, and the issues that I have with it is, again, it is very dated. I think people who watched it when they were younger probably appreciate it more than I do. But for me, when I watch this, it's quite hard to watch, and I think it's because I don't believe in the chemistry with the kids. I don't believe in the chemistry with the adults. I don't believe in any kind of the story structures that they're going through, and a lot of the changes that they made from the book really didn't make sense personally for me. Really, the biggest shining spot of it is Pennywise. It's Tim Curry's Pennywise. That's the best thing that you can personally say about the movie, and it's really all I can say about it. Coming in at my number 2 is going to be It Chapter 2. Now, I actually think this could probably go up to my number 1 on rewatches. I love the ambitiousness that Andy Muschietti did inside Chapter 2, and while it's very weird and very different than the first one, it still feels connected perfectly with a very seamless through line that Muschietti pushed through the first chapter and the second chapter now. And after being a big fan of the book, I love what he had decided to do this as. I like to phrase this in this, and I said this in my review. As Kill Bill, if you're gonna watch Volume 1, you gotta watch Volume 2. It's pretty much a big 5-hour movie. I would say It Chapter 1 and 2, if you put it together, it is a great, wide, blockbuster horror film to watch. It's a 6-hour horror film in a sense, and because you can't watch 2 without 1, you can't watch 1 without 2 now, and I look at that, and I actually appreciate it more as a whole overarching film. But if we're just talking about Chapter 2, while I had issues with some of the visual effects and some of the de-aging with the younger kids, and when it talks about those younger kids, a lot of the flashbacks I felt like were not needed, and you could have snipped out 30 minutes of this film with those that kind of dragged down the pacing a bit, because the film's either too long or didn't need those scenes, and you could have added more with the adult losers, because I would have loved that, even though I did think we actually got enough to kind of get their chemistry. It was really the performances of the adult loser clubs that really won this film over for me. And in general, why I don't think the film is scary, perhaps, I love how Stephen King has always been great with infusing different genres while also sprinkling a little bit of a horror flavor in there. Whether it's the first film where it's a coming-of-age film, and now you look at It Chapter 2 where it's the aftermath of that coming-of-age film with still sprinkled in horror elements to it. It makes total sense. And the through line for all these characters and the emotional arcs and the endings of all their characters really makes a lot of sense. When you look at Richie, and Bill Hader's performance in here is outstanding. Jay Brosnan as Eddie is also excellent in the role as well, and Jay Ryan was a big standout as Ben. But when you also look at James McAvoy and flippin' Jessica Chastain, they're also great. The adult losers have a great chemistry with one another. It feels like it never missed a beat, and it truly felt like these kids actually grew up. I loved seeing where they went in their lives. I loved the final third act of this film and how emotional it was, but also a very satisfying conclusion to their story. And the final battle with Pennywise was definitely worth the hype for me. Bill Skarsgård nails it as Pennywise. I love him in this performance, and everything that Muschietti had done, besides the flashbacks, the visual effects, and the pacing of the film, I thought it made it for a worthwhile. Some people might disagree with me. Some people might come out of this film disappointed. I absolutely really adored It Chapter 2, and the more that I think about it, the more I appreciate what Warner Brothers had gone after with this ambitious horror film. But of course, coming in at my number 1 is going to be It Chapter 1. I adore this film to all ends. This is a fantastic coming-of-age film with a brilliant horror through line throughout it. As a big fan of the book, the way that you kind of read Stephen King, this book fleshed out onto the screen, just as it did with It Chapter 2, but I thought It Chapter 1 had a more focused vision when it came to what was going on. While some of the tonal stuff is a little bit shaking, especially on rewatches, you definitely notice like, oh, now it's all funny. Okay, now it's all serious. And some of the tonal shifts are a little bit odd in there. I think it was actually better in It Chapter 2. It Chapter 1 still is a great film about these kids growing up. And the relationship, the chemistry between the Losers Club is easily the strongest part, because I think for me personally, the way I look at it is, I like to think I was probably in the Losers Club when I was younger. And I like to see that I'm Richie Tozier. The way that he reacts, the way that he talks, the way that he acts, that would be me in all these scenarios. And I had friends like Billy, like Bev, like Eddie, and I still do in times, and I actually really appreciate that. And I think for me, I relate so much more to It Chapter 1, where maybe down the road I actually might relate more to It Chapter 2 as I get older. But looking into this, I loved every single thing in here. And talking about Muschietti, even though I don't think either one of these films are really scary, it's his horrific imagery that he has prevalent on the screen, whether it's in 2 and even 1, that is really pushed onto the screen and just in a gruesome manner. They really pull no cuts in here, especially in that opening scene with Georgie. Probably one of my favorite opening scenes to any film. I just overall really adore what he did with It Chapter 1 while developing these characters, while bringing about this coming of age story and really furthering out this world. And the way that it leads into It Chapter 2, I think was just a brilliant manner. So that's my number 1. Guys, that's my It ranking. Thank you guys so much for watching this. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you guys are new here to never miss out on early movie reviews, geeky content, rankings, and all sorts of things like that on this channel. And plus, go over to See How Much on Films if you guys are interested in seeing films early. And you guys can also make sure to comment down below and let me know what your favorite It film is. Who's your favorite character? Who do you relate to the most? Let's discuss it down below in the comments, because that's my favorite place to be. And of course, a big round of applause to all my Patreon supporters, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. But guys, of course, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay classy.